welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to another episode of the Bright Now podcast. We're recording this on Saturday, April 20th, 2024. My goodness, 12 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. I'm your host, Dash, and I am the Gucci Mane to my young Jeezy. We got beef in the streets. TJ, how are we doing today, brother, and what are we yapping about?
Day one of the 2024 NBA playoffs, so feeling fantastic. And that's all we're going to be breaking down today, going through round by round of our predictions on how this all is going to turn out. And I really just want to dive right into it. We got the play-in, set up the stage nicely last night with the Heat taking care of business on the Bulls and keeping the Bulls and the Hawks out of any 7-game series, much to the joy of every NBA fan. And then, obviously, the Pelicans taking care of business as well and taking on the Thunder in the first round. So, let's start.
Can we talk about the play-in just for a second? Can we just
talk
for a second?
about it? Talk to them.
Okay, so yesterday, I really, honest to God, I know they were 10 games under 500, but I thought the Bulls stood some kind of chance against the Miami Heat without Jimmy Butler. But man, they just took care of them. They put the fucking spanking on them the entire game. I mean, did you get to watch any of that?
Yeah, I was out at dinner, so had it up while we were at the bar, and I remember keep poking up, and it was just getting uglier faster. It seemed like. And the fourth,
uglier.
The Heat just keep them at distance to close out the fourth. Not exactly a crazy exciting game by any stretch of the word, but without Jimmy Butler, like you said, you'd think the Bulls would have been able to put up somewhat of a better fight, but still, they couldn't get the job done this go around.
Man, hilarious to see, because I called it out. I thought Nikola Jovic was going to have a series and have his welcoming party, and he fucking did. He was hooping his ass off yesterday, and I was just so impressed. Tyler Hero came back from an absolute stinker, going like 9 for 29, I think, the other night in that first playing game. So it was just funny to see Eric Spoelstra and working his magic. In that other game, the Kings, I was rooting for the Kings personally. How'd you feel about that game with the Zion-less Pelicans going against the Kings?
We had talked about it before, and it was just the Pelicans had just handled the Kings all year. I think it was Skip Bayless that tweeted about the rock, paper, scissors with the Pelicans, the Kings, and the Lakers. Lakers can't beat the Kings, Pelicans can't beat the Lakers, and the it's just like the whole circle of suck. And yeah, it's just that's how the NBA goes. These teams with size are just going to take care of business. It's a little disappointed to not have the Kings in the playoffs. I'm sure Kings fans are pretty disappointed after getting a taste of the 2 seed last year and getting sent home early, or the 3 seed last year. My bad. But either way, I'm happy with the Pelicans getting it. I hope Zion comes back because he's such an X factor and such a game changer in any round. Like, he could conceivably, I'm jumping ahead of myself a little bit, if he's on the court against the Thunder, he could be the best player in that series, and that's not a far-fetched thing to say. So it definitely changes things if he's not going to be around, and so it just puts more on Brandon Ingram's shoulders, and I don't know if that's who I would want my team's hopes resting on.
No, absolutely, and we still have yet to see Zion Williamson play in a playoff series, and I would just love to see that maybe one day. I think you're absolutely right. Jonas Valanciunas had a Nikola Jokic impersonation last night, and it was just he was absolutely not killing Sabonis. Sabonis is never known for playing defense, but man, he absolutely stepped up his role, and it seemed like the Pelicans as a whole are just a fucking dog team, and I would love to see them with Zion. And I agree. I think with the Thunder, they could put up a real fight if they do have Zion. Without, absolutely not happening. So we don't got to jump in the West right away. Let's start in the East. We'll go in this first round. We'll go down in the Eastern first round, go to the West first round, and work our way through the playoffs here. TJ, what's the first game you want to talk about here in the East?
Start with the 1-8 Celtics Heat. The Celtics, for having one of the best regular seasons from a statistical standpoint of all time, multiple 50-point wins in 1 year, is absolutely insane, and I think they are just getting a little bit disrespected in terms of like the public opinion on what it is, and it's because of the shortcomings we've seen of them so recently in the playoffs. But the Heat are coming in on one leg. Who knows how many games Jimmy will get in. I really think the Celtics are going to come in hot, really motivated against this Heat team coming off of last year's kind of really embarrassing loss in the conference finals, and I'm going Celtics in 4 on this one. I think the Heat are not a good basketball team with this like component, this structure. Jaime Jaquez is awesome. I love him, but they rely on him a little bit too much to create, especially if Jimmy Butler's going to be out. So I'm really the most important people in this series. I think are really going to be like the real X factors for both sides. It's going to be Porzingis on the Celtics end. He's obviously the biggest addition that they made in the offseason and can really swing a game any which way. And the Heat, I would say Bam Adebayo is going to do a really solid job on him. But when they go two bigs out there with Porzingis and Horford, like it's just going to be a bad matchup for the Heat. And then on the Heat's end, the X factor for me is Tyler Hero for sure, because they're going to need him to score like a number one option in this series if they're going to try to steal a couple games.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. I do, and this is not from any kind of basketball perspective. This is purely on like a
power of friendship,
a magical power of friendship. I do think that the Heat will take one game in this series just because that's how the natural flow of things go for some reason with this Heat team. But I do think you're right, especially with the Heat zone being so killer against a lot of teams. I don't think it's going to work against the Celtics because the Celtics absolutely counter that with their 3-point shooting and attacking the gaps with Porzingis being able to because that's how you break a zone. You either shoot a lot of threes or you fill in the gaps. You take the space that's given to you. And Porzingis has been really good all year at getting into that little 6-7 feet away from the basket, getting that and just turnaround jumper.
Like if you're going to go a zone against Porzingis, like he's just going to shoot mid-range jumpers all day. He's going to catch it in the high post and then just go to work. Like it's just not a good matchup for the Heat, and it's really weird to say because the Heat have pretty much dominated the Celtics in recent memory. It feels like, but no, I'm rocking with the Celtics in 4. Definitely, I could easily see the Heat stealing a game, but I think it's going to be a sweep.
Yeah, not dying on the hill, but I do, like I said, just historically what we've seen, the basketball gods just.
If the Celtics lose this, Celtics lose this series, the regular season means nothing.
Means nothing.
It's pointless.
It's
pointless.
It's
pointless. I'll cancel League Pass at that point. I'll only watch.
What is basketball? I mean, the fourth best net rating of all time going against this team and just losing to a Jimmy Butler list. Yeah, I mean, I personally would like to see it just to shake up. I mean, I know people would hate it. I'm gonna watch basketball regardless, and I know it probably gonna deter a lot of casual fans, but I would personally love to see it. But we don't got to spend too much time on a 1-8 seed in a team that's probably going to dominate them. What are we talking next?
So let's just go right down the line to Knicks Sixers. So we got that 2-7 matchup coming. Knicks without Randall, Embiid healthy. I don't know what percent he would say that he's at. 70% of what he really could be. That's what it felt like watching that first play-in game.
Oh God.
I think this is like a dogfight of a series, just the makeup of these two teams. And it's really funny is like going through this. The West, way more star power, and this East team is just going to be like just knockout, drag-out brawls, it seems like, especially in this Knicks series. Again, I did kind of want to find like X factors on both sides. I think this series comes down to OG Anunoby and Tyrese Maxey. I think we know what we're going to get from Brunson. We think we know what we're going to get from Embiid, at least from a 23 points, 12 rebounds kind of level. But if Maxey's able to really step up, I could see them stealing some extra games. OG Anunoby's health has just been in question his entire stint with the Knicks. So is he going to even be able to play for 2 weeks? I'm going with the higher seed here. I'm going with the resume from this year, and I'm going with the Knicks in 7 here. But again, like I said, if Tyrese Maxey is playing like a real All-NBA guy, like he did really early on in the season, I think the Sixers could easily steal it. But if I had to throw some money down, it would be Knicks in 7.
Yeah. Okay. So far we're the same right here. I also have the Knicks in 7. I think Joel Embiid reminded us all why a lot of us don't love watching his game. I mean, that first playing game, that was kind of a nasty Joel Embiid performance. Specifically pointing to the flopping at the free throw line. Wasn't a huge fan of that. The man is so ingrained in his DNA where he fell at the free throw line. But in all seriousness, like you said, a 70% Embiid. It seems like it's been a while since we've seen 100% Embiid throughout a whole playoff series. I would really like to see it one day, and
it's not been a long time. We've never seen it. We've never seen
it, right?
A healthy, good Embiid through a whole playoff series. I guess maybe he had it when they like swept the Nets one year in the first round, maybe. Yeah. But yeah, I hear you.
No, I'm pretty sure he missed games that time too, because he had the
probably
orbital
did.
fracture. He's had the MCL issues all throughout. He's had foot issues, or even earlier on. I mean, it's just never been pretty for that team. And I don't want to say I feel bad for Sixers fans, because they had that rough stretch, but they've also been relatively regular season successful. But I agree with you here, TJ. I mean, this Knicks team has definitely figured it out without Randall. I'm glad they're not trying to force him back, and he's just going to be completely gone for the rest of these playoffs, just because his style of play, especially with Randall, I mean, you don't want a 70% Randall. You need 100% Randall to go down there and just bully ball people. But I honestly think that Villanova connection is very, very real. We've seen Dante DiVincenzo just absolutely step it up, being in regards for most improved player of the year award. I mean,
except did you
missed it by
see the
seconds.
bullshit
I don't know
with
if you
him?
saw that.
Yeah, you saw the bullshit
he missed it by
on that.
8 seconds one game.
Yeah, it's such bullshit. That's ridiculous for a guy to play
He probably wasn't
70
gonna win.
games.
Yeah, 7. Yeah, that's crazy. I didn't know. I didn't know he played 70.
Yeah, no, he
games.
played
That's insane.
well over 65. It was just not enough. We're at that 20-minute threshold because he's just a role player, which, whatever. But just like you said, Dante DiVincenzo could theoretically steal a game from the Sixers in this one. You tell me that he's going to hit 5 threes in a game and just kind of shift a series, it's a very real possibility. And another kind of power of friendship pick, where that team chemistry really matters when you get down into these situations and really need to trust your team.
Yeah, 100%. And I could even see this series going to 6 in the Knicks' favor. I do think of my X factor is going to be Isaiah Hartenstein. All year, he's absolutely just been amazing, putting in the dirty work. Very underrated passer, in my opinion. Great rebounder. Averaging only about, I think, 6 points a game, but they're extremely crucial 6 points. He's got great touch around the rim, more than willing to grab you an offensive rebound and just kick out to start over the possession and let Brunson go to work. Very excited to see this series personally. I mean, I think that
they have bodies to throw at Embiid. That's with Hartenstein and Robinson. Robinson's is playing, right. Nothing changed with him. I think they have the matchup to definitely at least contain him to some level.
Yeah, and just so I think we can lock that in pen. I mean, we got the Knicks taking that series. So moving on to the next one, it's going to be 3 versus 6. Which is a very interesting one considering the injury reports we've seen on Giannis Antetokounmpo, which is the 3rd seed Bucks versus the 6th seed Pacers. And TJ, I'll be honest with you, this one had me going back and forth a lot, because if Giannis misses the first 2 games, I think I'm taking the Pacers, but I also could be convinced that Giannis is good enough to go ahead and win you 4 games. But the style of play, the specific calf injury, I know people are saying that the correlation between Kevin Durant's calf and the Achilles wasn't real. I just don't see how that doesn't make sense, or no correlation. But anyway, I do think that the style of play that Giannis has to indulge in is going to be, that full-blown head down in transition, running the floor hard, getting those 1-to-5 passes going. And I just don't see it happening with an injury like that. I'm personally going to be taking the Pacers in this series. I don't know in how many games. I am willing to change my mind. If you got anything to throw at me, talk to me.
So I guess to start things off, we know all the drama from the Pacers and Bucks games this season, right?
Yes.
Just absolutely, these teams had some serious bad blood, and the Pacers are 4-1 against them this year. The last time they played them was in January, so that's even before that latest Halliburton injury. And like you said,
Before Pascal
Siakam as well. So I think it really it sounds like the assumption is Giannis is going to miss 2 games. For sure, two games are off the table, and hopefully coming back for Game 3 in the first game in Indiana. I think if the Bucks can at least split the games without Giannis, they'll win the series. But if the Pacers go up 2-0, I actually don't think that he can just turn around and win 4 and 5, right? So I would say if Dame can just get them a win, and they're going to be at home too, the Bucks get that benefit of at least being on your home court. I know you don't have Giannis, but Dame has won playoff games on his own before. So the X factors for me are Pascal Siakam, like you said, because that just increases the ceiling of this Pacers team. And Halliburton, seeing if the injury is finally kind of done nagging him to this point. And then for the Bucks, it strictly comes down to Giannis. If he misses 3 games or more, I think there's no way the Pacers win. So I put down Bucks in 7, Just assuming, they go kind of back and forth and the Bucks take it at home with Giannis just having some crazy, 40 points, 20 rebounds type performance. But that comes down to if he's going to play, and with this injury, you never know.
Yeah, and so let me throw something at you here. The Bucks, they've been a below 500 team since the All-Star break.
Yep.
And I think that's going to play a very crucial part into this. As you said, the Pacers have been giving this team hell over and over. I mean, I honestly just think Tyrese Halliburton's his style of play, the style of play of the Pacers as a whole with their pace, I think is way too fast for someone like Brook Lopez.
They don't have anybody that can guard Halliburton, or even really pretend to guard him if he's going to be going. It's
Beasley.
Yeah, yeah. There you go. Ask LeBron how that went with him.
No, 100%. But like I said, let's look at Dame. I mean, he was an All-Star this year. His numbers haven't gone down though, especially in terms of the efficiency. I mean, we're looking at 24 points right here. His assists obviously have been 7. I mean, it's great to play with someone like Giannis to be able to do that. But his shooting splits have been 42% from the field, 35% from 3, and I just don't love that. That's not the Damian Lillard we're used to. We're used to seeing those high 30% shooting percentages from 3. We're used to seeing that at least in that higher 40% for field goal percentage. I'm just not completely loving what I'm seeing from Damian Lillard this year. We've had the issues of him being a revolving door over and over and over this year. And I don't know, TJ. I think with the Giannis injury, are the Bucks willing to go ahead and just miss this playoffs right here if they go down 0-2 against the Pacers? They know that Giannis is playing with a very scary injury. Those soft tissue muscles injuries can be very dangerous. I mean, do you think that they would continue to play him if they went down 0-2? If it's that serious?
If Giannis
are they taking a
play,
70% Giannis?
If Giannis can play, if the doctor says yeah, you can, even if there is a risk, I think there's no way they can stop him from going out there. So I wouldn't say that's super likely. But if the injury, if the injury's severe enough, I would say if he's 70%, he's going. If he's 50%, then maybe not. That probably changes things a little bit. But then they have serious questions this offseason.
Conversations being had.
And I know Giannis had just inked the extension, but as we know, contracts in the NBA now just don't mean shit. It just doesn't matter at this point. He could get out tomorrow.
Yeah. So I mean, okay. Like I said, so we're splitting hairs here. So where do you want to go? Do you want to die on that hill with the Bucks pick, or do you think the Pacers can bring it out this year?
Let's go with the Pacers because Doc Rivers, man, it's not been a great track record.
It's Doc Rivers.
It's not.
Like
been
I said,
a great
the hardest
track
thing
record.
in the world to do. Take over a team. Take over
Way
a team.
hard,
in the middle of a season.
hardest thing I can think of. Hardest in all of humanity.
All right, and this next one I don't think is going to get a lot of tick for the casual fans, but I'm personally going to be tapped in. I think this will be a very exciting series. I love this young team. I know you got a lot of stock in this young team. And I'm not talking about the young team, the Cleveland Cavaliers. I'm talking about the Orlando Magic, the 4-5 seed right here. The Cavaliers do have home court advantage. TJ, does that mean shit? Is anything gonna matter? What are the X factors? What are you thinking about this series?
There's just a dogfight series is what it's going to come down to. Very similar to what the Cavs went through last year with the Knicks when we saw them kind of just get worked. Lights were too bright, like Jared Allen said. And I guess one thing that kind of really impressed me about the Magic. I saw some. I can't remember the source. They had done some machine learning stuff to classify what types of offenses each NBA teams had. So it was like, heliocentric, which was like the Suns fell into with the Mavericks, just guys dominating the ball. But then there was one group called the Rec League Goblins, which was just offenses that shoot really low percentage shots at a high volume. Just because, just not very sophisticated offenses. So that's like the Wizards and the Spurs. And I think the Pistons were actually in a worse category. But either way, the Magic fell into that category of just dog shit offense. Which would normally make you say maybe we need to step away from this team. But it almost made me double down on how good their defense is. Because to have this record and to finish as a 5 seed with an offense equivalent to the Washington Wizards with Jordan Poole leading the way is incredibly impressive. And so I just don't trust what the Cavs are at this point, and I really trust that Magic defense. So we know Franz hasn't shot the ball well this year, but if he can be a scorer, that's why he's my X factor for the Magic in this one. They're going to be able to get it done. On the Cleveland side, maybe a little bit of a zag for who I think is going to be their most impactful guy, but it's going to be Jarrett Allen because their winning streak happened because he was playing at the absolute peak of his ability. He was playing like Wilt Chamberlain. And
yes.
that's what it's going to take from Cleveland. I'm going Magic in 6 on this one. I just think they take care of business. Donovan Mitchell probably goes for 30 and 40 in some games and can steal a couple, but I think that defense is just going to suffocate those two bigs down low.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great pick. I'm also going to have to go with Magic in 6 here. Some of my X Factor guys that I'm looking at right here, it's kind of some strange ones on the Cleveland side. I think if this guy, Sam Merrill, can continue to just shoot the shit out the ball, I mean, this is something that we've seen before happen. Role players just absolutely take over series. We saw it with Gabe Vincent last year.
Little Dean Wade action, maybe? Little Dean Wade getting in there to knock in a few? Come on now.
I'd say maybe. But no, I do think you're right. I think that this Cleveland team just needs to take that step of direction. Seems like Donovan Mitchell, by all reports, doesn't love it there. I mean, it seems like he's appreciative of what the organization has provided for him. But I think these timelines are just too separate. I think we just need to go the route of cashing in everybody, just having Mobley, having Darius Garland stay there, and just having everybody else building around that core. I still got stock in Evan Mobley. I think he's going to be a good player. I think he's just a young project that's in the work right now, kind of a raw talent. But I think you're right with that defense to be able to just clamp down in a half-court situation like that as the Magic do and just being so handsy. Just having guys like Jalen Suggs being absolute winners, in my opinion. I know he hasn't done anything in the playoffs yet.
No, yeah, Jalen Suggs is going to be a monster on Donovan Mitchell. They're also going to hunt Mitchell on a lot of switches, trying to get Paolo on him just in the half court. And that's just a great matchup for Paolo to get locked in on. So maybe this is a series where, in Cleveland's favor, where, hey, maybe Mobley kind of goes back to what we were talking about him last year. It's just like a defensive monster and is really able to shut Paolo down. But I wouldn't bet on that based on what we've seen from Cleveland the last half of the season.
No, I totally get it. And looking at the Orlando side, my X factor is going to be Jonathan Isaac. I wonder if there's going to be a tick in minutes in this series just because of the size and length that it is there at the 5 position for the Cleveland Cavaliers, just to have that total rim protection that Isaac provides. I really enjoy what Paolo's offense is in the half-court setting, especially in the full court, but I do think Paolo will continue to get better in that half-court situation. Like you said, it comes down to the offense at the end of the day. If Cole Anthony can go ahead and get hot, as we've seen him before throughout the season, he was in that contention for 6th man of the year for a long time, kind of had a little bit of a plateau towards that second half of the year. But I absolutely think this is going to be a great series to watch. I also think it's going to be a dogfight. You can see a lot of these games finishing at 89-92 in terms of the score. And I'm personally all here for it. I mean, I like that style of ball. We know how the whistle gets towards this end of the year. And I think Paolo Banchero's size is just – that's the thing that you need. You need a guy with size. You need a guy like Tatum out there. You need a guy like – you know what I'm saying? A LeBron-type figure. I'm not comparing Paolo to LeBron. Like, don't get me wrong here. But that big forward that can handle the ball and get you a bucket at any points. And sometimes they're nasty buckets. Like, I won't lie. It's just a lot of put your head down and get to the basket. And Paolo's also got a jumper. Don't deny his jumper right away. I know a lot of people still have that image of the three-point contest with the rookies when he was a rookie about 2 years ago. But this guy can shoot the ball when it comes down to it. And honestly, I'm just super excited to see how this series pans out. Magic in 6 here for sure. That wraps up the first round of the Eastern Conference Finals. The Eastern Conference first round. We're going to go around to the West now, starting at the 1 and 8 seed. We kind of talked about the Pelicans already, TJ. Like we said, if we got Zion out here, might make it a closer series, but I'm still going to take the Oklahoma City Thunder, regardless of who's in that starting lineup. Depends on how many games, though.
Yeah, I'm going Thunder in 6 here. The biggest factors for me, obviously, is Zion. He's probably going to be out for the first 2, maybe 3 games. Like it was one of those, he'll be reevaluated in a week. So that it might scare you a little bit more and could kind of shift everything into a sweep. But we just saw the Pelicans still be able to overwhelm the Kings with their size. And the Thunder have a pretty similar makeup top to bottom as the Kings right now. For the Thunder side, I think the X factor is going to be Chet and how big that he can actually play. If he can play big time center minutes in the half court when things really start to come down, then the Thunder are going to be able to really walk through the Pelicans. But I would still give, if Zion does come back there near the end, I could see Thunder up 3-0. Maybe the Pelicans steal a couple, and then they can just kind of shut them out in 6.
Yeah, I like it. X factor definitely going to have to be those centers on both sides of the court. I agree with your Chet pick right there. Jonas Valanciunas had an amazing playing games right here, and something that we can't just expect from him from every night. But I absolutely agree. I think SGA's game perfectly translate for the playoffs. We've seen him play in the playoffs 2 times, but that was more of a not being the main guy, not being an MVP candidate. He's with that OKC roster and that Clippers roster that was sneakily good when he was a rookie. But I'm really excited to see how he's going to perform as the main guy. I know there's issues about the free throw stuff that people like to bring up. But honest to God, I think somebody who's able to just weave through a defense in a half-court scenario, especially when things start to slow down in the playoffs, is going to be the perfect superstar that you need to win a playoff series. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Thunder at maybe 5, especially with the Zion stuff being so questionable. I understand the Pelicans' big thing is that they're huge. They're from 1 to 5, they're pretty big guys. I mean, excluding C.J. McCollum, which he's on a different level, can just hit 7 threes in the game randomly whenever he needed. But I do think that the Thunder do take this in 5, maybe 6, just with the youth that is on this team. Because I do love Herb Jones. I think he's an amazing defensive player out there. I do love Trey Murphy III. I think he's a really great piece that this team should keep going into this offseason. But, man, yeah, Thunder just going to have to take this, in my opinion. Moving on to the next one, 2 versus 7. Nuggets versus Lakers. And as a Suns fan, TJ, I'm telling you right now, I hope this game goes to 6, but I know it's going to go in 4.
Yeah, so I said Nuggets in 5 just because I'll be a little cheeky and give the Lakers a little credit for starting to just play a lot better. But it's like the Lakers glazing is just out of this fucking world. Like every segment is about how, do the Lakers actually have the best shot to beat the Nuggets? They got fucking swept last year, guys. The closest sweep of all time. Guys, get the fuck out of here. The Lakers haven't beat the Nuggets since 2022. In a single game. In any game, they haven't beat them since 2022. When I was in my first semester of my senior year at college. I'm 2 years into my career now. Like, it's not the same. I'm done with that. I don't even really want to talk about this series because I'm just sick of everybody else. You can turn on any sports news and you're going to hear them talk about how the Lakers are going to win this series. But I'm off of it. Nuggets in 5. I'll still give them some X factors here. Let's see if Anthony Davis is actually who he says he is. And then on the other end, I'm going with Aaron Gordon, just being the best guy to body up LeBron at this stage in his career, this kind of makeup of him. Nuggets in 5.
Yeah, I guess I completely feel you. I'm feeling even stronger. I think it is going to be a sweep. I know there was close games, which I hate. I hate the whole closest sweep of all time. I mean, you got your ass whooped. I mean, nobody's going to go back in the record books in 50 years and say, I mean, the Nuggets went through, but they definitely went through a tough one right here. No, they're going to see the 4-0 and see that. If they look through the highlights, they're going to see the back-to-back, step-back, one-legged three-pointers that they hit on Anthony Davis and LeBron James. And I can see something so similarly happening to this. All the shit that the Lakers were talking about last year after the playoff exit, I'm kind of excited to see them get their ass shut up. Big LeBron guy, especially at this stage of his career. But you can't be talking all that smack, Anthony Davis. I'm sorry. You're going to get embarrassed by it. The best center in the world, who we thought you were going to be at one point, Anthony Davis. And you might just be mad because that title was absolutely stripped away from you by this Serbian tubby guy. And I'm sorry, but he's just going to have to show you guys again that he is by far the best player in the world. And I mean, I'm excited to see the beatdown personally. It's kind of fucked up, but as a Suns guy who's got my heart ripped out by the Lakers multiple times throughout my childhood, I'm excited to see the beatdown. Speaking of the Suns,
the one we've been waiting for,
3 and 6 matchup. What are we waiting for? And TJ, I'm a little overconfident here. I've been such a pessimistic Suns fan all year, but this was by far the best matchup we could have gotten this first round. I'm taking the Suns in 6.
I don't want to say it because I just feel like it's putting different. I just don't want to jinx us, but I'm going Suns in 7 too. I agree with you that we do have a really good matchup. We're 3-0 against the Wolves this year, and the wins have been we kind of took care of business in all of them. Their offense makes our defense look so put together, like it's so night and day compared to other people. And our offense is explosive enough to actually break through their league best defense. We know Rudy Gobert's issues on defense in the playoffs, and going small ball with Kevin Durant at the 5 for some spurts, like we're gonna be able to play him off the floor. On the Timberwolves side, it could be Ant's coming out party. Like I can totally acknowledge that and get it. But if they lose, like they're gonna really need to rethink the Karl Anthony Towns era. So for me, this series is going to come down to Karl Anthony Towns and Bradley Beal. I'm confident enough in what we'll get from Booker and Durant on a night-to-night basis. But if Beal is able to pitch in another 20 points, 23 points, maybe goes for 30 one night like we've seen this season, specifically near the end of the season. Like Beal's really been playing his best stretch of basketball right now. So that's part of the reason why going Suns in 7. But again, it's coming to a 7-game series is going to be very tightly contested. So I'm not too overconfident. But I still got to go with our guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, this is weird coming from me because I've just been so down on how this team has performed. But I'm aware that Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, they'll have a 40-point game in that first round. I mean, they've consistently done it throughout their careers, like every single time it feels like. And I just don't see where the difference is between this Timberwolves team. I'm really excited to see that quote-unquote small ball lineup that we're going to put out there with KD at the 5 to just stretch out Rudy Gobert and make him an absolute 0 on the floor. We've seen the issues that Rudy Gobert has presented in the playoffs before, and I'm really excited to see it happen again, if I'm being honest with you. It's kind of cynical, but I'm excited to see us play the Defensive Player of the Year off the court. Not really Defensive Player of the Year, Wembanyama, shout out to him. But I'm really excited to see this. It does suck, though, on the flip side, if Anthony Edwards does win in this series, it really does shoot up the trajectory of his Michael Jordan comparison, honestly, because this is just such a passing the torch moment if they do end up beating us. I mean, with guys like Devin Booker and Kevin Durant being so good, Booker didn't make the top 75, but top 100 players of all time, most likely, going against each other, KD being a top 15 player, it would be very Cinderella-like, very storybook-like if he does beat this team. I mean, obviously, this next matchup they go against, they're not going to win, but it would be very interesting to see. So I'm taking Suns in 6. And then finishing up this first part of the pod, 4 and 5, we got the Clippers versus Magic. Who are you taking?
I'm going the Mavericks in 6. The X factors here for me is going to be Derek Lively on the Mavericks side. I think he's going to be able to, and it sounds like he's going to be healthy. He was dealing with some injuries near the end, but he's been practicing and he's going to be ready to go for game 1. And I think he's just going to be ready to run circles around Zubac and Plumlee. On top of that, you got Kyrie playing amazing as the number 2 option right now. We all know how clutch he is. He can easily swing a game. He hits that game winner over Jokic. Like we've seen it recently. He's still playing at a very high level. Sounds like Kawhi is going to be definitely missing game 1. Who knows about going further? So that definitely doesn't help the Mavericks case, especially if the Mavericks can steal game 1 on the road. So that's why I got to go Mavs in 6 here. I think Luka is going to be the best player in the series, I don't believe in what this Clippers team can do right now.
Yeah, and it's just such a 180 from 3 months ago when we were just gassing up the Clippers, just absolutely destroying teams, and they seemed like they'd figured it out. But you're absolutely right, TJ. I mean, the Kawhi situation, it makes me sad as a Kawhi fan. I'm genuinely a big fan of his game, and it's just kind of sad to see over and over. I mean, I know he's got 2 Finals MVPs, got 2 Defensive Players of the Year awards. He's made his money, but just as a basketball purist, I mean, there's times on the floor where it looks like Kawhi Leonard could be the best player in the league. When he comes down and just gets to his spots regardless, uses his strength and having people bounce off of him and coming down to the opposite end of the floor and just clamping up someone like KD, it's hard for me to not be like, hey, is this guy, is he the best in the league? I mean, I know there was those conversations in 2019 after he won the chip of him and LeBron, and obviously the longevity aspect just completely destroys that argument. But like you said, the X factor is Kawhi's knee. It depends how serious his knee injury is. I know Ty Lue had denied any comments to say if they had gotten an MRI on the knee. I think it's getting to that serious of a point. I don't think Ty Lue is playing chess right here. I think this is a very serious thing that's occurring right now. Love me some Paul George. He's very up and down. You got the playoff P, Paul George, and then you got leading the team to the Western Conference Finals, Paul George. So, man, I don't know. I'm going to have to take, like I said, I think this Mavericks team is sneakily good. I'm going to have to go ahead and take the Mavericks in 6 as well. X factors on that side, I do think we're going to see – I was going to say Tim Hardaway, but he's fairly consistent in how inconsistent he is, so I can't really put him in that category. This man will either hit like 5 or 6 threes in a game or he'll go 0 for 6. But like you said, I think Derek Lively is a great pick. Like you said, he had those ankle injuries. But I think that this rookie right here, you need a rookie on your team. We saw the Denver Nuggets with Christian Braun last year. You need a guy in his rookie deal to go out and ball out to help you out and make yourself a genuine contender. But that about finishes up this first round right here. Went through a dogfight right here. I'm glad we had the same picks. I know that Bucks-Pacers one was a little iffy that we had. But yeah, we got that first round down. We're going to take a little break right here. Coming up next, we're talking about the conference semifinals and the conference finals. And then we'll finish off the pod with a little NBA Finals matchup at the end. I think you guys know who's going to finish up at the end. And we're back. Going straight to the Eastern Conference semifinals. We got the Celtics versus the Magic here, TJ. I think this is an easy one. Should be, theoretically. What are you thinking?
It's Celtics in probably 5 or 6. I'll go 6 to give the Magic a little credit. But, I mean, the Celtics have dominated pretty much everybody all year. And the Magic don't have the offense to kind of match what the Celtics are going to do. And the Celtics are pretty equal to them on defense, all things considered. Like, when you really get down to it, it's close enough to where you just have to give it to the star power in Boston.
Yeah, I think this is a flat-out easy one right here. Love that the Magic were able to come out of the Cavaliers in our theoretical first-round prediction. But this is I might
and
take
that's
them
okay.
4 or 5.
Yeah,
that's totally okay. It's a super young team. It completely exceeded any expectations that we had placed on them before the year. But I do think that the Celtics are going to come out on top fairly easily. Like you said, star power. It's kind of
the Magic's both of their best players are on rookie deals. Winning a playoff series is you can hang a banner for that shit, low key. Like that's a success story for this Orlando Magic team who hasn't sniffed success since Dwight Howard.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and put them. Those Vucevic, Aaron Gordon years where they were getting swept by the Bucks in the first round don't count. Don't count whatsoever.
Not at all.
Let's just fly by that one real quick. Next, we got the Pacers versus the Knicks, and I think I'm gonna have to take the higher seed here again. I mean, I love, I'm the biggest Tyrese Halliburton fan you got out there, but man, I think just in terms of how intense this defense is, how good Jalen Brunson is. We've talked about it all year. Any team who's going up against the Pacers, any good guard is licking their chops, just like how the Suns defense was. And I think this is a point right here where we're going to see the same thing. I really like the down and dirty work. I think the Knicks do very well at controlling paces of the game, and that's the thing that the Pacers need. They need pace. No pun intended, goofy as shit, but the Pacers do need pace in this game, and I think the Knicks are going to be able to control it. Do you have any differentiating opinions here?
So I agree that if it's Knicks Pacers, the Knicks are probably going to take care of business in about 6 games. So let's say the Bucks, like Giannis comes back and just rips through the Pacers in force, like beats them, and they go down 0-2. Giannis comes back, he wins 4 straight, and they just dominate them the rest of the way. Does that change? Would you go? What are you thinking for Knicks versus Bucks at that point? Are you still going Knicks? Because I would, if Giannis is just firing on all cylinders, I'm going Bucks. For the purposes of this exercise, I'm cool with the Pacers being in this round and going with the Knicks. But I just want to throw that out there that Giannis could still end up in the conference finals this year.
I hear you. I think I'm still gonna have to go with the Knicks just in terms of their continuity. I mean, man, I just have not loved what I've seen from the Bucks in the second half of the year.
And OG could probably do a solid job against Giannis still. And Brunson versus Dame, like Brunson probably takes the edge in 2024, right?
Yeah, best guard in the East, in my opinion. I know we have some differentiating opinions.
Yeah, let's send New York through. I'm with you. Let's send New York through.
It sucks. I hate hating on Giannis. You know, I love Giannis, but it's just the injury thing. I mean, it's not his fault. It's just the calf injury. And like we've talked about it before, but I think the last 5 years, the Bucks have not gone into a playoff series. Even in that 2021 finals when Giannis was hurt and just played through his knees, fucking torn MCL, going ahead and dropping 50 in the finals. We've seen him play really well playing through injury. So it makes me feel like a dickhead for even picking any other team over them. But I think it's serious enough. And I think going down 0-2 against the Pacers is just going to be rough. But like you said, if he can continue to play through and he doesn't get injured all the way through to the Knicks, I mean, I just like the depth of the Knicks. I think Brook Lopez is old.
As long as Tibbs doesn't just run everybody into the ground like D Rose.
Yes.
So we'll see.
Please God, don't do that.
All right.
Now we're jumping over to the West.
Yep. Thunder.
Right. Who are you taking the matchup?
Thunder Mavericks. That is
Which young guy do you
juicy.
like? Which young guy do you like? What are you taking here?
I like the Mavericks in this one. And I feel guilty as a Suns fan saying that, but I think the experience and the pedigree is really going to come to show in that second round as the Thunder just have a little bit more wear and tear on them. They're still really young, and another team that should not be disappointed if they do lose in the second round. Like, they're ready to retool and come back stronger next year. I just think the size isn't going to overwhelm the Thunder, so it is going to be a guard-dominated series, but I'm just taking Luka and Kyrie over SGA and Jay Will, no matter how much I like those two guys in OKC.
And sometimes it just comes down to star power in these series, especially with teams that are relatively similarly built. I know Chet does have that three-point ball that Derek Lively doesn't have in his bag, but Derek Lively also has that insane lob threat that we've seen at points with Chet, but I do think Derek Lively's got those pounds on him, got enough, wear and tear throughout the season
just a real rim-running, lob-catching threat. Chet's just gonna be chasing him around, and he's gonna have to guard Chet out on the perimeter too, for sure. But Luka's going to be the best player in the series for sure. And Kyrie might be the second best player. Like, Kyrie could outplay SGA, like, no questions asked.
Yes, and that's zero disrespect to him. We've just seen the playoff consistency with Kyrie. I mean, when he gets to those crunch time minutes, he seems to have the ball in his hands, and he seems to make shit happen.
Yeah, like, that's the Kyrie. That's where we talk about SGA being kind of the new version of Kyrie. Like, this is kind of a master still reminding the student, like, what he can still do.
Yes. No, I love it. How many games do you think this series will go in terms of the Mavericks' favor?
That could go. I would see that as like a Mavs in 7. Like, that's going to be a tightly contested back and forth. I think long series.
Still would be an amazing series. I mean, amazing season for this Thunder team. Amazing to just get through that first round. I know they finished as the first seed. I believe I read that it was the youngest first seed a team has ever been to, and I think like since the merger.
I think I think I saw that same stat, but like they had a starting lineup this year that was like younger than some tournament teams. Like, their average age in the starting lineup was like younger than Purdue, I'm pretty sure. And maybe not at this point. Maybe that was like last year's team, but it still kind of holds where it's still a really young group.
Yeah, I think Oakland was probably older. They had a bunch of guys that were like 25, 26 in their post grad.
BYU was for sure older.
No, 1,000%. But yeah, I'm going to have to go ahead and take the Mavericks in this series as well. I hope it's a dogfight. I could see a universe where this is just, like I said, not a disappointing season for the Thunder, but I could see it where it's kind of a disappointing series for the Thunder, where it's just like, man, I thought we had it right there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, where they kind of get steamrolled. I could see it almost going in like 5, but I want to give respect to this OKC team that has absolutely exceeded everybody's expectations, but still going to have to go Mavericks in that series. And then coming up next, one I didn't want to talk about too much, and I know there's going to be some Suns fans that are delusional that will be mad at us for this pick, but I'm giving the Suns a little bit of respect. I do think the Suns versus Nuggets will go 6 games, just like last year.
Yeah, I'm with you.
We
know the reasons why. Nurkic does a good job against Jokic. I don't know if he can do a great job in a 7-game series. That's just a really hard thing to ask from a guy. And yeah, like, it's just our role players are not up to snuff compared to Denver. Our team chemistry is nowhere near where theirs is at. So I'll be sad when we do lose to them, but I still have to go. If I'm being an unbiased watcher of the sport, like, you have to go Nuggets. There's no way you can't. And 6, I'm comfortable saying 6. The Suns can steal a couple again with maybe the big 3 combined for like 100 points in one game. And we get it done that way.
So I have to ask you, obviously we'd never wish injury upon anybody, but let's say for just for theoretical sake, do you think that if an injury to Jamal Murray was sustained in that first round or in this series, do you think the Suns could come out on top? Because it's not the craziest thing in the world to imagine. We've seen Jamal Murray get hurt before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that would really flip the series. Just because those guards just attack us so relentlessly, it feels like. And maybe Reggie Jackson would just turn around and have a career series, but I would still, I would like our odds way better in that one. So at least, take it 7 and then just see what happens against Joker.
Is there any percentage, like at all, that the Suns win this series with a completely healthy roster? Is there like a 10% in your brain, or no? Is that?
Yeah, there's probably like a 10, 12% chance that they get it done. So not great, but the Nuggets are just a great team. Like that's just how it is.
I hope we can use this clip in the future after we win and just be like, wow, I can't believe we doubted the best team, the best big three of all time.
Well, I'm superstitious, so I'll never be too overconfident. That's how you get let down, man. That's how you get let down.
No, you're 100% right. Yeah, all right. So, sadly enough, knocking out the Suns, putting up the Lakers there. So right now we got in the conference finals. We're looking at the Mavericks versus the Nuggets. And then on the East side where we want to start, we got the Celtics versus the Knicks. TJ, is there any universe? What percentage here? Because I know the obvious answer. We're thinking that the Nuggets are going to get through to the finals. Is there any percentage of you that thinks this grit and grind Knicks team could put up? I mean, they could definitely put up a fight, but do you think that there's any percentage that they beat the Celtics in this series?
They have a better shot at beating the Celtics than we do the Nuggets. I would say it's probably like a 30% chance they could get it done.
I was thinking 30.
We've seen Tatum collapse before, and if OJ Anunoby is going to be causing problems for him, if the Knicks are healthy, excluding Julius Randle, Brunson could be the best player on the court, and it really can come down to that. It would be a 7-game long series, I would think, either way, but it's a non-zero chance. I would still give it to the Celtics here. Like we said before, to be this good in the regular season and then not make the finals would be insane, especially against. Let's not beat around the bush. This is a pretty weak East. Like the gap between the 1 and 2 was big, and this is what we're looking at right here with a Knicks team that's not even at full strength. So I'm still going Celtics here, but the Knicks have a decent shot, and Knicks fans should be ecstatic if they make it to the conference finals. Like look at the history of the last, in the 21st century, what they've done. Like they should be happy either way.
Yeah, they've been hot ass the past couple of years, and like I said, Jalen Brunson's already moved past Carmelo Anthony in that all-time Knicks conversation, in my opinion.
He's nipping at Patrick Ewing's heels. He's nipping at Patrick Ewing's heels for sure.
He really is. But yeah, like I said, I think I'm gonna have to give him a 30% chance to even come out on top of this, which is higher than any other team, I think, besides that one team in the West that's probably gonna make it to the finals. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and take Celtics in 7. I think this will still be a dogfight, and I think it'd be very beneficial to this team that comes out west that they've had to scrap and claw their way out through the East at this point, or at least in this Eastern Conference Finals. So yeah, going over to the West, we got the two Europeans. I don't want to be disrespectful to Giannis, but I think right now at this point the two best Europeans in the league, with Luka Doncic and Nikola Jokic going head to head. Mavericks versus Nuggets. How many games can the Mavericks take from the Nuggets?
So I think we're both just gonna say Nuggets here, like Nuggets in 6 or 7. Like I think we do respect the Mavericks enough there. But I think the more interesting question here is, if the Mavericks win this series, if they figure it out and get it done, and Luka is the best player on the floor, are you ready to say that Luka's the best player on the planet? That's kind of how the belt works. You have to take that shit, and if he rips it off of him. Like that's a big deal. And even if they lose in the finals to the next round, I don't think people would be saying Tatum's better than Luka, because odds are Luka would have a crazy statistical series and the Celtics would just be too much as a unit. But would you be ready to say Luka's the best player on the planet?
Oh, so this is my philosophy on it. If people say it, I'm not going to be mad at them, but I personally would still have to go with Jokic just because of the 3 MVPs. The finals run that he had last year was absolutely stellar. I think the consistency that he's even exhibited this year at being at that number 1 position in the MVP, I think I have to keep it with Jokic. But like I said, if Luka wins the MVP next year,
as soon as this season ends, I'm putting money on Luka to win MVP next year. No matter what happens, 100%. I'm putting money on him to win MVP.
100%. And I don't even think it's a stupid idea to just do it. Even if they don't get it to this point. Like, I think genuinely Luka has finally shown that he is one of those guys. The NBA polls suggest that SGA is fucking the second best odds right there, which is silly to me. Vegas will tell you that Luka is second. A lot of people would tell you that he's first in this year, just in terms of looking at the seeding that they ended up finishing and his stats. But I don't know, TJ, where do you fall on this? Like I said, I'm going to have to go with no for now. If I see something in the playoffs where he just decimates the Nuggets, I'm going with Luka. What do you think?
Okay, yeah. I feel you there, where it depends on how it looks. But if he does truly outplay Jokic, I think you have to say it. Just out out of the way, kind of like just the law of the land. And right now, when we're in a real Game of Thrones era where LeBron just had the crown for so long, and then he had taken his step back and still kind of has his hat in the ring, but nobody's like legitimately saying it anymore. So it's just a lot of rapid changes, but once in 3 years, Wemby's going to own it for a decade. I'm very comfortable in saying that.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. It's just so going back to the statement that you said, if Luka outplays Jokic, have we ever seen Jokic been outplayed though in a series? I mean, even those times we had Campazzo as his point guard, it still felt like that he was the best player on the floor in a lot of those playoff series that he was in. Have we ever seen it? Can you think of off the top of your head? I mean, never Anthony Davis.
No.
Like,
the Suns fan in me wants to say like Booker had outplayed him when we swept them. But
okay.
I don't feel totally great saying it either. So, but there's a first time for everything. I guess that's what I would put it at.
You're right. I just think he's at the peak of his powers. He's looking even a little better than he did last year, and last year looked absolutely just unfuckwithable. Like I said, it really depends. I mean, if they can go ahead and just sweep the Lakers, I mean, it might be hard. That would be just such a tough way to start off to go against a team with that much confidence, beating a LeBron James and Anthony Davis team. But like I said, we're realist. Got Nuggets winning this series, and so the thing that everybody knew, we're gonna get to the end of this. We got the Nuggets versus the Celtics. TJ, I've been hearing a lot of chit chat coming this way, that way. I thought we were leaning one way as a society, but it seems like it's getting to that 50-50 spot at this point. Who are you taking here?
I'm taking Denver. I'm taking the pedigree. I'm taking the best player in the series. The better chemistry, the better coach, the better defender in Aaron Gordon. Like, I just like what he's going to bring to the series. Porzingis just is. I don't know how Boston is going to be able to match up with Denver at the end of the day. I just don't see it. It's just not going to work out for them.
Yeah, it's a sad reality for the Celtics fans having such a stellar season, having one of the best regular seasons it feels like we've seen just visually. But I think you're absolutely right. The championship pedigree that is within this organization. Aaron Gordon. If Aaron Gordon continues to be one of the best playoff defenders of all time in this series, or just throughout these playoffs, call it GG Celtics. I mean, if he's clamping down, going down the list again, if he's clamping down LeBron James again, if he's clamping down Kevin Durant again, and if he's got a lot of great minutes on Luka Doncic, I don't think that will exactly put him on there. But if you can play good help defense or maybe just slow him down a tad, I think it's wraps for Celtics. Like, I genuinely think that it could be like that's how big of an X factor I think Aaron Gordon is. I think this could be like a 5-game series, unironically. Because just like the amount of length and speed and agility and athleticism that Aaron Gordon exhibits against someone like Tatum is going to be super annoying to go against. Mm-hmm. Like, Tatum does have that ability usually to go down, and people get mad at him all the time for not doing it, but getting to the rack at will with his strength. You can't do that against Aaron Gordon. You cannot do that against Aaron Gordon. I promise you.
And the Nuggets will be able to live with putting MPJ on Porzingis, right? Yeah. Like, you'll live with that matchup, and then it just comes down to Jokic doing Jokic things on the offensive end, it's inevitable.
It's inevitable. The Thanos of the league, Nikola Jokic, coming out on top with his second Finals MVP award. Man, I'm excited for these playoffs, though, TJ. I don't think it has the vibes of a Cavs versus Warriors, but it kind of felt like that pretty middle in the season of everybody having their picks. I would like to see a little bit of shakeup. Besides the Bucks and Pacers one, is there any like least confident series you're feeling in?
I mean, Suns T-Wolves. Like, I could still see the Wolves beating us. I know we beat them all year.
Don't say that.
It just scares me. I'm just a realist, and I'm prepared for all possibilities in that one.
I get it. Well, that's going to wrap up this podcast. First time going through the entire playoffs together. That was pretty fun right here. Even though it ended up with the people that we thought were going to end up there, went good. But thank you guys so much for watching this episode of the Bright Now podcast. We will be back at you on Tuesday going over some of those playoff games that are happening. just starting right now as we speak. So we'll get through that, see what our predictions are looking like, see how confident we're feeling after our first couple games. But thank you so much for watching, and as always, y'all have a phenomenal rest of your day.